name is Michale Glennon. I'm a senior research scientist at the Adirondack Watershed Institute here at Falls College. For me personally, I'm a scientist and I love the science. I'm also just an obsessive yarn person who has been knitting for like 40 years and crocheting for, I don't know, maybe 10. And so it really started as an experiment, but it was, people seem to respond to it really, really well. And so those initial pieces that we created kind of were a test case, and we've kept it going since that time. And we traveled it around during that year and sort of talked to folks about the Clean Water Act and the importance of the Clean Water Act in protecting our waterways. The celebration of that provided us with a great sort of impetus to start this and enable us to start the conversation, and that's been a really great opportunity. We now have a variety of different issues that are represented in the collection, from climate change is heavily represented, of course, as one of the most important threats to our waterways. Invasive species is probably another, I would argue, one of the primary threats to our waterways, and then kind of everything in between, road salt, lots of other things as well. So it was a good backdrop to sort of talk about the importance of protecting clean water, and that is really what the Watershed Institute is all about. I am a terrestrial wildlife ecologist by training, and so my role at ADVOI is a little bit more focused on maintaining health of our terrestrial environment, our upland watersheds that of course support the water quality that we all care about. It's really all about sort of maintaining the intactness of our upland terrestrial environment, which helps to support providing clean water, understanding that there's a very tight relationship between the health of our lands and the health of our waterways. Personally, I do a lot of research on birds and on other wildlife in the Adirondacks, and the ways in which sort of we use the landscape of the Adirondacks, the decisions we make about land use management, and how that impacts wildlife. And so that has been influential on this project. This was done by a woman named Joy Muller-Makula. And this is the actual record of the dates of ice coming into Muir Lake over in Lake Placid each year, which has been, that date is getting later and later. That's one of the consequences of climate change for that lake in particular. For the loon is because this has become an issue for loons, unfortunately, because they will hang around here in the Adirondacks, as long as there's access to food.
One project we have right now, funded through the Champlain Valley National Heritage Partnership, is focused on the Champlain Adirondack Biosphere region. In that project, we worked with the third graders at Petrova Elementary and Saranac Lake, and we did a community values mapping activity with them. So we asked them what they value most about the Adirondacks and the biosphere, this area that we call home. And they took their time to think about this, and then they wrote down their favorite things. And then they had a value associated with each of those choices, correlated to a corresponding felt ball color. So we had green and blue that represent water and lands and mountains and cultural issues. And then all of those students got different colors that represented those values. And then we got to represent that across over 55, 60 students in the third grade at Petrova Elementary. So they all got to see what their classmates love, and we got to see the differences class to class. Some classes really value paddling and fishing and being on the water, and other classes really like to catch frogs and be on the trails and be on the mountains. So it was cool to see what third graders love most about their community and represent that through the arts. Some students who will notice one of Michale's pieces and be like, so the dark blue means it was colder and the light blue means it's warmer, and just seeing them make those connections is really cool.
Record of billion-dollar storms in the tropical cyclone category that have affected the Northeast region. So it starts in 1980, and each of these swirly-looking, slight cone-ish shapes represents a year starting in 1980, and the blue ones are years when we had a storm in the tropical cyclone category that affected the Northeast region. This changed my connection to art in terms of making me have a much deeper appreciation of art. I honestly did not consider any of this to be art until we started playing around with this idea and people received it really well, and they started calling it art. And people started reacting and being touched by it. I think that made me appreciate that it meant something to them, and made me appreciate more that it was an art form. Having never really thought about myself as an artist in any way before this, and having no training whatsoever in art. So it's definitely made me appreciate that a lot more, and spend a whole bunch of time exploring other ways that artists are engaging with scientific information and conveying it, which I think is wonderful. And I have developed a much more of an appreciation for the power of those two things together. But I would say that anyone that's interested in engaging should start on the website or just reaching out to us directly. And then if you're interested more from the standpoint of, not necessarily creating something yourself, but maybe you are a teacher and you'd like us to come work with students or something like that, then again, you can just find me or Tom, reach out to us at AWI, and we're very, very happy to come and do workshops, presentations, activities.